everyone, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and today we're going to be creating some collage style birthday cards using components from the Simon Says Stamp June 2024 card kit Sweet Birthday. I was super inspired by the pattern papers in the kit to create these cards today. Using some basic square and basic rectangle dies from Simon Says Stamp, plus the components from the kit, we are going to have fun with the pattern paper and all of the things. As you can see, some of the basic squares fit the collage style 6x6 pattern papers in the kit perfectly. Now, where some of the basic dies don't fit the design perfectly, you can cut them down much like you would a sentiment strip. And I mean by that when I have a sentiment strip that needs to be shortened, I guess I want to say, I will run it through one direction and then I will flip the die cut around and I will just run it through far enough that it cuts that other end, shortening the die. And you're going to see that with one of the rectangles that I create for these cards. I always like to start with the components of the kit, start laying things out. The general idea I had laid out there at the beginning of the video makes some adjustments as I'm going, but that's perfectly okay. Now, I did use my paper trimmer, and you could use your paper trimmer for any of these sections as well, but this little rainbow striped border I want to use on one of my cards. There is only the one in the paper that comes in the kit, so I will be creating my own little borders from some leftover rainbow paper that I have in this kit from another card that I made previously. I did go through the pattern paper and I chose 3 backgrounds that I felt were less busy, if you will, and I am trimming those to 4 by 5 1/4. This is going to leave a nice little 1/8 inch border all the way around. We will be mounting this on some of the doll pink cardstock also included in the kit, trimmed to 4 by 5 3/4 or 5 1/2 part 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now you can see I'm starting to lay things out and get a better idea of how I want my card design to look. I'm even going to take some of the Simon Says Stamp foam adhesive and place it on the back of this rainbow strip. I won't remove the backing quite yet as I'm not ready to place it down, but I wanted to see how it looks popped up off of that background paper, and I do think I'm going to like it. Also included in the kit is this birthday wishes die. We are going to die cut it twice, once from pattern paper and once from the doll pink cardstock. This particular die does come with a shadow, however, I am not using the shadow as I really want the background of my panel to show through all of those open areas. Here is one of those dies I was talking about where I am die cutting the rectangle from this watercolor striped pattern paper, but it is a little bit too long for my card. So I am going to flip it around, place my die maybe about 1/4 inch or so down, and I'm going to just run it through my die cutting machine far enough that it snips off just a tiny little bit of that. This is going to fit my background much better. I'm also going to not use some of the components from the pattern paper exactly as they come. This is more of a rectangular tag, but I need a square element, so we'll just die cut it with a small square basic die, and we can punch a hole in this, add a little twine after a bit, and add it to our card as a tag. I also want to utilize the amazing stamp set in this month's kit. I am going to use the Cupcake wrapper, the swirl, and 2 candles for my cards. I'm going ahead and trimming down the rest of my backgrounds now. Once I have kind of the basic design in place in mind, I am ready to start trimming all of the rest of the elements. Most of this I will be trimming off camera. I briefly considered using some of the surf blue cardstock also included in the kit. However, I think the dull pink is a little bit showier for all of the pattern paper backgrounds I'm using today, so I did opt to go with the dull pink instead. You'll notice the 3 backgrounds I chose for my card backgrounds are going to be 3 very either light or tone on tone backgrounds that won't detract or take away from the other busy elements on our card or cards. Once I have my backgrounds, once I have die cut all of the elements for the card, and again, I'm just utilizing the basic squares, basic rectangles, and my paper trimmer, plus that birthday wishes die, I am then ready to start kind of the process of putting it all together. For me, that is going to start with splattering the background with some black spatter. I will be using the black shimmer spray from Hero Arts for this today. Black paint would also work well. My shimmer was handy, and so I did go ahead and use that. I don't want it to be overpowering or super busy or super distressed. And in order to kind of control how much spray comes out, I like to shake up my container really well, just like I would with a distress mica stain. Then I dip a paintbrush in it, and you'll notice I tapped a little bit off or kind of pushed a little bit of the liquid off before taking it to my cardstock and starting that spatter. And that is because I don't want it to be overwhelming. I want it to just be a little bit in the background. This will dry very quickly, but I do like to do any of this right up front so this can be drying while I work on the rest of the card. Once I'm happy with how much spatter I have on my backgrounds, I am going to set these aside, let them dry while I stamp my cupcake elements. For this, we want to take some of the smooth white cardstock also included in the kit and grab some embossing ink and white embossing powder. To make the coloring of my cupcakes super quick and easy today, we're going to be utilizing embossed resist, which is always one of my very favorite techniques. Embossed resist is where you take an image, you stamp it, you heat emboss it with embossing powder of any color of your choosing. I am using white today. You'll notice I'm prepping my cardstock with the Simon Says Stamp powder tool, and then you apply the ink over the raised image and then buff away any ink that might be sitting on top of that embossing once you're finished. I will be utilizing Simon Says Stamp Pawsitively saturated inks and my favorite small round ink blending brushes to color in all of these elements. The coloring will go outside the stamped and embossed line, but in this case, it really adds to the look rather than looking like maybe you couldn't color within the lines. So I am going to go ahead and repeat this 3 times on my cardstock, each time stamping these 4 images and heat embossing. I do like to make sure my heat tool is good and warm before I bring it to my cardstock, and I like to hit the back of my panel as well as the front to hopefully reduce warping. And there you can kind of see them. I'm using an assortment of Pawsitively saturated inks to color in the images. Starting with the cupcake wrappers, I am coloring these with the Dew Pawsitively saturated ink. I tried to pull the colors that I'm using for my ink blending right from the colors in the pattern paper included in the kit. I'm using some latte for my cake. There's not a lot of this that is really going to be seen, so just a little hint of color works well. I'm going to color all 3 images at one time since they are all the same. And I'm keeping my cupcakes and candles the same for all 3 cards, regardless of the color of background. using the small blending brush to add color to the cupcake wrapper. And then we're going to take our little round blending brush to add the cake portion with latte ink. I love the round blending brushes for controlling how much ink and where it goes. Next, we're going to take some zest ink and we're going to apply that to the flame portion of our candles. You can see almost doing a little round type of inking there. Perfect. And then for the candles themselves, we're going to use Cantaloupe and Lime-licious. Oh, I guess I did the frosting first. So for the frosting, we're going to do some pinks using Carnation and Peony color inks. First, we're going in with Carnation for an all-over light application of pink. Then we're going to go in with our Peony and we're going to kind of be a little bit more purposeful where we apply that to the design. You can see that I just kind of go in a couple of areas so that you get some of those lighter and darker areas in the frosting that I particularly like. These images look so much better once you have die cut them. Included in each of the kits is a few of the dies that coordinate with the stamp set. There's also 2 other stamp sets available for individual purchase from Simon Says Stamp if you want to round out the design. I'm using the dies that come with the card kit. Next, we're taking Lime-licious and Cantaloupe and we're going to ink blend the candles. This ensures that we're using lots of color, but still keeping within the color palette of our cards. Then I'm going to take the coordinating dies and die cut all of the elements so that we can start putting our cards together. I only will be putting one of the cards together on camera today since all of them are put together exactly the same, just the colors and maybe some of the patterns are different. Before I die cut, I did take a dry cloth and I am kind of moving to a clean area on the cloth before switching to each area and removing any ink that might be sitting on top of those raised or embossed areas. Now that I have my background and I did adhere this plaid paper to the doll pink, I'm going to use some foam adhesive on the back of my cupcake wrapper and we're going to build our cupcake first. I'm adding these to that longer rectangle that we die cut using a basic rectangle die and the watercolor striped background. Look how cute this cupcake looks. This is a very quick and easy way to color in your cupcakes or any image like this really. I'm using a combination of the foam adhesive squares, thin foam adhesive strips, and the foam adhesive roll today. All of them kind of serve different purposes, but I love them all. I'm a huge foam adhesive fan. Then I'm using the glue press to put a little bit of glue on the back of my pattern paper die cut birthday wishes before attaching it to the doll pink die cut. I'm slightly shifting it over so that it has a little bit of a shadow to it. That looks awesome. So it really makes the pattern paper kind of pop out and shine. Then I'm attaching the stripe border down at the bottom. And I want to do this before I adhere my birthday wishes because I want to squeeze in a stamped sentiment right below the birthday wishes. This will come from that Sweet Birthday stamp set as well. I'm piecing together the rest of the sentiment here before adding it to my card. I have all of those little pieces together. We also want to attach any of the rest of our die cuts. In this case, we have some squares and those are going to fill in right next to our cupcake. I love the collage look and feel of this design. For the little square that does look like a tag, I will use a hole punch to punch through there, and I'm going to thread through some of this Lawn Fawn twine. This is a brand new product that I absolutely love, and the lime green was the perfect color for this card. My other two cards won't have any twine on them as I didn't make any tags out of any of the other elements, but I wanted to show how you can take those kind of things from your pattern paper and incorporate them right into your paper crafted projects. That rounds out the top of our collage on this design, and the remaining two cards will be created much the same. Now, before I attach birthday wishes, I do want to place my background in the Misty, and I'm using my die cut greeting as a guide, and I want to fit in my sentiment. For this card, I will be using the phrase, "To the sweetest person." On the other two cards, I'll use "Let's celebrate you" and "May you feel celebrated." I love that there's a lot of options in this stamp set so you can really customize your sentiment to fit the occasion or the recipient. I'm stamping "To the Sweetest Person" with the peony colored Pawsitively saturated ink. I also used this same color for "Let's Celebrate You" on the other pink background, and for the aqua background, I used the color Mist Pawsitively saturated ink. Now we can glue our sentiment in place. It does slightly overlap the squares and rectangles up at the top of the card, but I feel like it just is very cohesive and pulls the whole thing together. I'm going to go ahead and do the remaining two cards, and then we will add embellishments to finish it all out. In this case, I do want to add some sort of dimensional embellishment to our cards. The other two cards don't have any twine on them, and I love something like gems or pearls to round out my card designs. The other thing I want to add to all of my cards is the sparkle lacquer pen or Nuvo crystal drops in White Blizzard, or another kind of glittery finish to the tips of the candles. Using Rainbow Splash embellishments from Simon Says Stamp, we are going to add glittery hearts to the cupcake wrappers and some of the clear gems to the strip at the bottom of each card design. I absolutely love that pink glittery heart on each of the cupcake wrappers. If you guys know me at all, you know I love adding a heart to almost every one of my projects. I'm adding some of the opaque Rainbow Splash stickers or droplets to that bottom border on each one of my cards. I love that little touch of embellishment. It adds just the perfect little touch of dimension. Next, I am going to glue each of these backgrounds to a white top fold card base, and my cards are all finished. Thank you so much for joining me today for these 3 collage style cards featuring components from the Simon Says Stamp June 2024 card kit. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube for your convenience. Thanks for watching.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.